Exactly.
Tax refunds. Now I think this has become the issue in this campaign, and you know, the biggest difference between you and your predecessors is people nowadays, and I think that, you know, I think it's great. I love getting a tax refund. Whereas, you know, 10, 15 years ago, you waited 3 years, and it almost seemed like in order to get a tax refund, you had to know somebody, you had to have, you know, the connection or whatever. And I think this is a great issue for your campaign. But then your opponent says, oh, you know, the Governor Calvo says, oh, I paid the tax refunds, but we had to, you know, people had to take him to court to make him pay it. How do you respond to that?
I guess he doesn't look at history. The day I came in, we were fighting to get the tax refunds, long before a lawsuit. As a matter of fact, I found it ironic. I had been telegraphing my punch, telling everybody I was going to send legislation over to put out a bond so that we could pay off the tax refunds, restructure this debt that was now on the backs of the people rather than the bank. And we had been doing that for months. So it's ironic how that lawsuit was filed the day we sent that bill over to the legislature. I call those guys ambulance chasers. And you know, ultimately, if you take a look at when this lawsuit occurred, the tax refunds were already on time. What the issue was now is, because of a practice that actually started with Carl, because he was late in paying tax refunds, it was for emergent cases. You weren't following who filed on that certain date, you know, but based on a chronology of first in with filing, first paid out. It was because someone had an emergency, a death in the family, a default on a mortgage or whatever. These are sincere, terrible cases, but because they were late paying 3 or 4 years, you know, these were special cases that the people were jumping the line. And this happened since Governor Gutierrez's time. So right now what the courts did is compel us that we can't do that. It's got to be based on the time it was filed. So there's a lot of people still coming to me asking for the tax refund, but you know, I want to tell them thank the lawyers, thank the Democrats, because they're the ones that filed that lawsuit to not be able to pay tax refunds based on an emergent need. It's interesting. This whole issue of not paying tax refunds started in the Gutierrez administration, and the first area they attacked was the earned income tax credit, the money for the working poor. And you know what $3,000 to $6,000 means to a hard-working family that's just barely making ends meet?
And these are the people that your opponent champions and claims to help.
He says,
I found it ironic that during his administration, the EITC wasn't getting paid out.
And he attacked them first. And then the irony of all he's saying we're borrowing, he's the one also that started borrowing for tax refunds. But then in the end, after you borrow, you still didn't pay the tax refunds. And I must remind everybody that we're going to be up to date again. We paid over $100 million for this year. This will be, by the next couple of weeks, we'll pay off all the tax refunds, and this will be the second year in a row where we paid out tax refunds without having to borrow. We've just managed our finances. That bond that we floated was to pay off for 4 years, and some of them even longer, of tax refunds owed to the people of Guam. But since then, we've been able to pay out the tax refunds without borrowing out of regular cash flows of the government of Guam. It's just good management. I want to thank my fiscal team. So I can't wait for the debate, because again, my opponent, he likes to talk about he's there to serve the poor and help them, but when the poor were in need of that earned income tax credit, he was nowhere to be found.